I'm Jan Hennig. I'm from Germany, and I got into TA in 1977 and immediately started to be a member of the German association, which meant at that time automatically being a member of aorta also and of ITAA. And I was so enthusiastic about TA that I started my career there.
Wow, great. And what sort of size was the German organisation then when you joined?
When I joined, the German association was about 500 something members already.
Okay, so quite big already.
Was quickly growing in Germany because there was so many people interested that the few teachers were completely overworked.
Wow. And tell me a bit about the beginnings of aorta. So you weren't there right at the beginning, but tell us a little bit about how it started.
I was impressed by what Michael Reddy, the first president of aorta, wrote. He wrote it, I think, in 1984, but he wrote about aorta that it really started in a bar in Villar. And the reason was there was a conference on TA, the first conference on TA in Europe, international conference, set up by the Gouldings with the help of ITAA. And all of a sudden, the people there found out, oh, there are many of us in Europe who are already in training, in studying TA. They didn't know that before.
Yeah, so
And
they came together.
They kind of learned that and said, well, we need to have a European association, which is different than the American way of life.
Yes.
Europe is different, and we need a different international organization for Europe.
Okay.
And
so
so
aorta
they
was
really
born.
formed a committee and worked hard on it, met twice or four times a year in different places, and came up in 75 to really finally formally create aorta. That was in Enschede in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
At a conference.
Wow.
And from that time on, it was flourishing.
And what was aorta like when you first joined then? It's like, how big was it? Yeah, what was it? What was the culture like?
My first impression of aorta really was in 1979. We had a big conference in Aix-en-Villars, in Aix-en-Provence in France, with 1,400 participants.
Wow.
All in the university campus. All the rooms were too small, so we were sitting outside on the lawns, and people were teaching. Richard Erskine was teaching on the lawn with 200 or 300 or more participants. It was so impressive. Wow. And in the evenings we were sitting again on the lawn and singing and celebrating and learning to know each other. It was such an international flavor that was so impressive for me. So that really, again, made me love it.
Sounds lovely. And so then it's developed, so aorta has developed and changed from there. So what have you noticed over the last 40 years in terms of how aorta has developed?
Well, I have some experience in being on aorta council. My first term started just after my CTA exam in 1981. And this was very different from now. It was very interested and knowledgeable people with a vision. But their visions were very different, which they found out in the council meetings. We had 3 council meetings a year. Everybody paid everything for himself. No reimbursement of travel costs or hotel or whatever what's now. So, and we were fighting a lot. And My first remembrance are not really nice because two Italians accused me as a German and all the old history of you're a Nazi and this is... We all had that also in the aorta Council. It had to really stand these conflicts.
Yes, wow.
and find solutions. And I think we did. Over the years, it developed more and more professionally, finally we got a good office, which was with Martine Huon in Aix-en-Provence first, and now is in the hands of Marianne Rauter in Germany since, I think, 2002. And she does it wonderful.
Yes, she's brilliant.
I caught her
Yes.
because I knew her from Germany, and I persuaded her. Her children, she said, I can travel, my English is not good, but finally...
So it's down to you that we have such a brilliant secretary, administrator. Thank you.
That's true.
That's a very big contribution.
I'm proud
that
of
you've made.
this move in the right moment.
Yes,
So that's
certainly. And you've held several different roles within aorta over the years, haven't you?
Yeah, I started as a delegate, and people started to tell me, well, the chair of PTSC is German and that's a tradition, so you're the next one. So I became chair of PTSC.
Yeah.
And then I joined COC and worked together with Ian Stewart and Mary Cox at that time, where the conflicts with ITAA were really coming up because IATA was having more and more members, 10 times more than ITAA at that time, and did everything, exams, conferences, all the organizational work, and did not see any more a reason to pay for this to ITAA.
Yes. So at this time, aorta was sort of underneath, paid fees to
up,
the ITAA.
up to that, all
was part of
the
that.
fees went to ITAA, and the work was done in Europe.
Yeah.
And this conflict, the two organizations couldn't solve. It was easy on a personal level, people talking with each other, but it was not possible on the organizational level. They had to split first.
Yes.
And then find a new way of correlating and working together. And people were really working for this to stay together on both sides. I was part of that also, these processes, and we had a lot of conferences and telephone conferences and exchanges. We didn't have email at that time.
No. So both parties were committed to working together.
To find a way and to stay together and work together and be together, to keep this vision of a worldwide accepted and working together group for TA. And
So
I think it's in good hands now.
Yeah, so that was a significant change in the organisation, wasn't it? So,
Absolutely.
okay.
This was a significant change, and then over the last year, well, I became president once of aorta and then stepped down from that role because we lost our treasurer. And I thought, well, I could be good at that. So I took that role and stayed on as a treasurer, and this was a big change because then I was a treasurer that was no longer a delegate. Up to that point, the treasurer always was also a delegate from one country, and we thought this is one of the roles, like the secretary, that should stay on for longer, and that should be persons who do the job instead of being political active. And this was also the beginning of these changes. Now we have vice presidents and some chairs of committees who are no longer delegates, but have this job and have a job description and do their work. And I think that helps.
So aorta continues to evolve, continues to change and evolve.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
With
how-
all the conflicts and solutions of them.
Yeah. So how do you see aorta now? Are you happy with how things are now in aorta?
I'm still happy because the vision is there, the energy is there, people want it to live and make that possible.
Yeah.
And of course they meet all the conflicts that happens in the multinational organizations with all the different interests, and but aorta keeps moving others and itself to meet these needs, and I think it's still on a good way. And I remember the big world conference in Zurich that was in 1998, which was tremendous. It was so interesting. It was wonderful. And all people from other continents came, not only from the US, but also from South America, from Australia, from India. It was wonderful.
Yeah, wow.
So, and next year we will have a similar conference in Germany, in Berlin.
In Berlin.
Where
yes.
I'm born.
Yeah.
So.
Because you're born there, maybe.
Maybe not.
Okay. And so now we've been at this 40th anniversary celebration conference here in Geneva, and how's the conference been for you?
It has been really interesting for me. I didn't expect it so much. I kind of said, well, it's wonderful to meet my old colleagues, which I nowadays know from Facebook somewhere, but don't meet them anymore. And did not expect to get interested and enthusiastic about themes, about theory, and I did. Yeah. It was a great conference, and I love it.
Yeah, it has been good. And what are your hopes for the future for aorta? What would you like aorta to do next?
Continue the way it's doing its work and really attending to the needs of the member organizations that will come up and will be different. Every year there will be new ones, and aorta needs to attend to this, to be really attentive and look at that and find out what's important now. And if it does that, and I think it will, then it's good.
Great. Good. Okay. All right, that's lovely. Thank you very much for coming to talk to me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.